Welcome to our webinar. My name is Sediko Rakolote. I am the founder and the trustee of the Progressive Socio-Economic Investment Institute. Our institute focuses on education, health, and socio-economic development. Within the areas of education, we focus on running dialogues, touching on various topics within the country. Tonight, we'll be looking at the topic titled, Is the Law Classless, Non-Racist, and Non-Sexist? Is the law classless, non-racist, and non-sexist? It is going to be a very interactive session with discussions, and we are so fortunate that amongst us, we have a presenter by the name of Xolani Dube, a senior researcher from Xubera Institute for Research and Development. We are humbled that Xolani Dube has agreed to come and present, but it's going to be our responsibility, all of us, to engage on this topic. Is the law classless, non-racial, and non-sexist? And without a waste of time, I'll hand over to Ntate Xolani Dube.
Let me greet everyone, and let me also humble myself for the honor to be part of the discussion that the Institute today is hosting. And what is very interesting is the fact that the Institute hosts this seminar under this topic at a time when our country is trying to find its feet or trying to find its character when it comes to the interpretation of law. We are seeing the issues of Zondo Commission. We are seeing the issue of JSC. We're seeing also the issue of Ubaba Uhlope, Judge Hlope in the Western Cape. And we've seen lots of issues that are surrounding the interpretation of our Constitution, as well as the Bill of Rights. And I think that the Institute, for choosing this topic today, it made one of the best decisions. The question that we have to ask ourselves, what is law? And who is supposed to benefit when it comes to law or to justice? And who are the makers of the law? And at whose interest do they make that law? I think that's how we need to problematize this topic for today. And when we look back, the origins of law and order in a society, law was meant to protect, to preserve, and influence the power of the ruling class against those who antagonize the ruling class. And so in a way, one can simply say, the law is there to protect the ruling class, the elites in our society. The law has nothing to do with the condemned, the outcast, the poor, the unemployed, the oppressed, and the dispossessed in the South African context. And the law, it is the weapon that the ruling class use against the poor. And the ruling class, to make sure that its power is cemented in a society, they created jails. They created other means that, even to a certain extent, terminate your life if you are a serious threat. We've seen in the South African context, number of the freedom fighters being hanged because they were threats to the ruling class. And so law has nothing to do with justice. Law is about serving the interest of the ruling class. Because if law is about justice, why in the apartheid context, they had to hang Andrew Zondo, Solomon Mahlangu, and a number of other comrades who died at the hands of a state that claimed to protect the law of the Republic of South Africa then. When you move around South Africa even today, you visit jails, the people who populate those institutions are the poor, are the children of the poor. Why? Because each and every day, those who are hungry, those who are poor, those who are on the other side of social life, when they try to make the ends meet, their actions are classified according to the laws of the country. But when people are killing others at Marikana, when people are killing others through corruption from the state, from the black elite, none of them get arrested. But when a poor mom from Diepsloot, Alexandra, Soweto, Emlas, Enand, out of hunger and go to a shop and help herself on a piece of chicken, he gets arrested, more than the cost that he stole, and he stay in jail for quite some time. And moreover, he must require the service of a lawyer. And so that's why I'm saying the law is there not to protect the population of this world or the population of this country, but the law is there to serve the interest of the ruling class and to protect the ruling class. Therefore, in the South African context, the law is racist in its application. Remember that I've used the issue of Solomon Mahlangu and a number of other comrades who were killed by the state, and the state claiming to protect the other citizens of this country. And so that's why I'm saying the law is not objective, it's subjective. Is it classless? No, it's not, as I've said. The law is there to protect the elite. It's got an element of class. It's got this element of elitism. Hence, even the language that is used to interpret law is a language of the elite. That's why in court, they say they need an interpreter. And then, you know, because once they need an interpreter, it shows that there is this disjuncture, there is this disconnectedness between the accused and the defendant. and the institution itself, because the institution use law. The judges in South Africa, they use laws. The prosecutors, they use laws. The magistrates, they use laws. Our law is written in a foreign language. And even the jurisprudence, even everything is not African. And so we are being trial, and we need to fit into a particular frame. And that frame is the Western frame in terms of behavior norms and so forth, because that's what law is all about. That in any society, a law is there to preserve the values. Law is supposed to preserve the values, the norms, and the culture of that particular society. But in the South African context, or how the ruling class have made laws, they made laws in order to protect their production as well as their power, because power and production, you can't separate the two. So as well as law, so as well as the law, so as well as the lawyers, so as well as the police, as well as the army and the jails and so forth. And so all these institutions that I've mentioned are the institutions that cement and protect the ruling class. These are the institutions that are the ones that monitor you and me who are poor. And so even in the USA, we have seen it, or in any country where there is a master and a slave relationship. The slave must live according to the laws of the ruling class, or according to the laws of the master. Obviously, if you have power, you design laws according to your terms. You design laws according to your will. You design laws according to what must be done in order to protect your power. And so you will never create laws that disempowered you. You'll never create laws that put you into a disadvantage. You'll never create laws that those who were historically dispossessed must reappropriate what has been dispossessed in the past. And so what I'm trying to say, in a capitalistic society as well, law is there to protect the class. And so you can't separate class, race, and gender or sex in the South African context. Because in the South African context, in a patriarchal society, the people who are at the receiving end are the women. And so it's a clear indication that law is not there to empower those who are at the bottom of the social ladder, but it suppresses them more. And so in a way, law in any society serves to maintain the status quo. It's not there to disrupt it. It's not there to make a white person and a black person and an Indian and a colored to be equal, the poor and the rich to be equal, the man and the woman to be equal. No, it's not for that. And so law is about politics. It has nothing to do with justice. Law is about politics. Hence, even in the past, you'll see the people who were at the forefront of justice were the aristocrats, were the kings, the church, those who occupy the highest hierarchy in our society. And so, even in the capitalist society, you know very well that justice or law is very expensive. You need to have money to have fair hearing in the courts of law. You need to have a lot of money to hire an advocate. And so law is expensive. The question that we have to ask ourselves, are those people in township who are poor, will they ever see justice within the context of law in a capitalist society? In a society that has been thriving on excluding the poor, the blacks, the women? The answer is very simple, is no. And so what can we do in a society so that we can have justice, so that we know that everyone is fairly represented, so that every person who is behind bars is there with a clean heart that says, yes, I've seen justice. I am here because law is just. It's a very simple thing. You go to the Nordic countries, you'll see what is justice there. Hence, in those countries, they don't even have jails anymore because they don't want jails. You know, they have less population in jails. But when you go to South America, where there is so much inequality in terms of per capita incomes, in terms of what we call the Gini coefficient, you see jails full of people. Jails are overpopulated in countries where there is poverty, in countries where there is inequality. And so now, what we need to do in the South African context, we need to readdress the imbalances of the past. That's where I will say, we need to concentrate at achieving. Because you know very well that even our quest in the struggle was about social justice, nothing else. Because through social justice, you create a just society. And so it's clear that in 1994, we never achieved social justice. Why? Where is the evidence? The evidence is in the population that our jails can't accommodate anymore. Is in the resentment in our society on how justice is being used as a tool to keep on disempowering the poor. We've seen classical example in Xolani, where a Department of Energy uses state resources to hire lawyers to go and fight against the people that it needs to be representing and protect, but is fighting those people at Xolani in order to protect the interest of the Australian company against the people or the native of South Africa. And so that's why I'm saying law is a tool used by the ruling class in order to further its interest. We've seen mining companies in South Africa going to court to defend themselves or to demand to mine in certain areas. Go to KwaZulu-Natal as we speak. There is a case that is going on where a multinational company is fighting against the natives. Interestingly, the natives are saying, leave our land in an immaculate state. But the foreign company is saying, we want to destroy this land because we want what is underneath this earth so that we can sell it. Can you imagine? But these multinational companies are in court fighting for that. And so that's why I'm saying courts, these institutions, in a capitalist society, they are not there to protect the poor, but they are there as an instrument to further the interest of the ruling class. Hence, I am saying, for us to see justice, for us to have faith and trust, and to hope that these institutions are there to serve us, first and foremost, we need to uproot this economic system. We need to uproot this interpretation of law through the prism of the Western culture, through the prism of the Western power domination. We need to localize ours so that we can see justice. An example, when you look even at university, the modules or the courses and so forth, we were not accommodated. Ours is known as a customary law, you know. It's a very condescending, you know, it's like it's not important. And we still use the Dutch Roman law. And when it comes to election, we use the what we call the Westminster. And so even the mannerism, the posture of our own people, you know, in Africa, they wear some wigs, you know. In Africa, in South Africa, you know, even when they speak, I was listening to Judge when he speak, he must speak like a native from Harvard, you know, he must use a particular accent, you know, in order to endear himself within this framework and this posture of saying, now I've reached that particular level of understanding, and then I can interpret law if by using this particular accent and this terminology. What kind of a nonsense that today people, they still use Italian, what you call it, Latin. Can you imagine? People, they use Latin. And so that's why I'm saying this whole thing needs to be restructured. We need to problematize this whole thing so that we come with something that we know that is going to be just at the end of the day, that all of us, we can be happy. Our justice systems were there before our human evolution and administration were violently interrupted by colonialism. We had ways of promoting justice as well. We were having Lahotla, we're having what you call it, Itangami. But today, our gatherings that were there for justice are being vulgarized, looked down upon, labeled. We are told that they are not empowered, they don't understand the Constitution, and they are even being termed as kangaroo courts, you know, because they are Africans, and then in the Western ones, they are courts, and the other ones are kangaroo courts, you know. And so that's where the dehumanization is being engraved in our mind, so that we simply embrace and indoctrinate ourselves with other people's laws. Because you can't accept other people's laws without also not trying to endear yourself in their culture. And once you do that, it means that what you do, you become hollow. You must remove everything inside yourself and insert someone's life in you, someone's thinking in you, everything. You must become something. Hence, we are the white man zombies. And so that's why I'm saying the native professionals, intelligentsias, and those who are the activists, we have to work hard in order to generate our knowledge and preserve the knowledge that we had and the knowledge that currently we are having so that we can move forward. Because without understanding those things, Zuma tomorrow will be leaving Zondo Commission and Zondo won't be knowing what to do. And us will be hating Zuma, others will be hating Zondo. And then the question is, in a forum where justice is supposed to be seen, why we have to argue about justice? We argue about justice because we know that this institution or this environment that are being created, we can't even interpret them because they are not ours. And so I think the discussion that we have today around the issue of law, it has nothing to do about understanding law, but it's to understand the law in its context in a society and its interpretation and its aim and its hidden agenda. Because in sociology, each and every aspect or each and every study, there's always a hidden agenda. Even in medicine, there's a hidden agenda. You know how medicine overlooked the traditional medicine, you know, religion overlooked the traditional spiritual life, you know, even the Western family setup, how it undermined the African setup, the family setup. There's always this hidden agenda, and these hidden agendas that are there are the ones that always indicate that there is an internal war between the dispossessed and those who took land, or let me say between the blacks or between Africa and the Europe. These wars are also there between Asians and Europe and other nations. And we need not to be scared to preserve and fight for what is ours, because what is ours is who we are. We must not simply look down upon ourselves and embrace other people, because we will never be white, no matter how much we can try, no matter how much you can articulate English. You can take your kids to Michael House, Hilton, St. John's, go to Harvard. You'll always remain black, and you'll always be perceived as a slave, as a subhuman by other nations, until we stand up and say, look, we need to develop ourselves. We need to protect who we are, so that when we sit around the tables with other nations, we come with our own identity and we come with our own interpretation of law. It's so very embarrassing when you attend international conferences. You find a round table, when you pick up the earphones, you listen. All the nations have demanded to be spoken in their own language. And then only us Africans, who must divide ourselves into Portuguese, to Spanish, to French, to English, to any other nation's language, because we don't have ours. So as well, when you go to the library, to the universities, you will never find a single book written in Tswana, in Venda, in Shon, in Shangane, in Zulu, in Xhosa, dealing with law. Because clearly, that law that people became advocate judges is not our law. Is a law that belongs to other nations. And so, yes, without any shadow of doubt, law in the South African context is racist, is sexist, and is undermining. I don't want to say class, because, you know, class, I would say, is undermining the indigenous, or is undermining the natives. And the law is not for the natives. We know it very well. As I've said, it's Dutch Roman law, Westminster, And is an English law. Ours is a customary law that you can't even go and argue with it in court. And then that's what I wanted to say. We need really to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, those people who are in jails, are they there because of really understanding the law, or are they there because they are the outcasts of the ruling class and the ruling class is using law against them? And so I think, without repeating myself, I would like to make a conclusion that says, we will never be proud that we have Black judges, Black advocates, if those Black judges and Black advocates still keep on interpreting other nations' laws and use them as a frame for us to interpret ourselves. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Xolani. Oh, what a mouthful. Thank you so much. Colleagues, that was the submission from Xolani Dube. In his conclusion, he says, the law is racist, the law is sexist, the law is there to undermine the natives. We should not be celebrating having Black judges and Black advocates if they are using the likes of the Roman Dutch laws as a foundation to instill justice in our country. I'm paraphrasing. Colleagues, those who want to make submissions, input, comments, or questions, you are most welcome. Raise up your hands, and then in this case, I will request that you open up your video. I made a mistake of not requesting Xolani to open up his video, but it's fine. I'll request that you open up your video, ask your question, and then we can take it from there, or make your comments. We'll start with the Moyo. For now, your hand is up, Ntate Moyo, you can come in. Moyo?
Sir, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks a lot to my friend for an amazing presentation. I'm going to have the first bite, then I'll come back with the second bite. However, well, the law, because the question is the law, how to put it? I want a most polite manner of addressing this thing. But while I'm still thinking about it, I want to say, before you can deal, before you can deal with the issue of the law in this country, can you further explain how can we move away from the Dutch Roman law? Because that is the problem. How can we move away from the Dutch Roman law? Because you can talk about the Zondo Commission, you can talk about the South African Constitution, you can talk about the judiciary, you can talk about almost all these things that deals with the law. But as long as you haven't addressed the issue of what is behind the law of this country, you'll have people like Zondo who think they are God and all that. And lastly, how can we deal with the issue whereby our judiciary seems to be captured, but no one is saying anything about that? Those are two questions that I want to get clarity on it, Sediko and Ntate Dube. Thanks.
Thank you, Moyo. Any inputs, comments from colleagues in the webinar before I allow Xolani to come back? Any inputs, comments? While you're still thinking about your inputs and comments, Xolani, on the questions from Ntate Moyo.
Look, as I've said it, you know, South Africa is a captured country. Let me explain this. There's nothing known as South Africa, you know, because South Africa is a colonial project. Xhosa, Zulu, Mvenda, Mshangana, and so forth. We were brought to this colonial project out of our own will. Remember that when they formed the Union of South Africa, they never consulted the natives. Even when they moved to create the Republic of South Africa, they never consulted the natives. We were not even involved in voting. Only our responsibility was to provide cheap labor to the multinational companies, your DBS, your Anglo, you name them. The only thing that we were providing to the Republic, us as natives, was cheap labor, nothing else. Hence, we could not vote. We could not do anything. But they have to take care of us. You know, they needed to build these reserves, the townships. And also, they said, look, we can't manage these people. They created Bantustan so that they extrapolate reserves from us. South Africa is not a country. I always tell people, South Africa is a colonial project, and that colonial project that based on trade. It is a trading station. And so in a trading station, the cowboys rule. The merchants rule. The interest of the merchants is the bottom line. They can do whatever it takes in order to make the bottom line, meaning to make money. South Africa, if someone is captured or if someone is saying he's not captured, I don't know what that person is talking about. He's talking nonsense. South Africa was long captured. Its conceptualization is a captured one because it was conceived at the back of business. Cecil John wrote when they started South Africa, it was about business, it was not about governance. When colonialists come here and attack the natives, only thing that they wanted were the resources from the natives, the land, your gold, your ocean, this and that. That's what they wanted. This is what they have even today. They will never let it go, good people. You must understand that. A white person will never let it go his privilege for a subhuman being like an African. That's their mentality. And so we are captured. And after they've captured our resources, they made it sure that they have to capture our soul. They have to capture our mind. They have to indoctrinate us so that we can be zombies, we can be fools. And even when they are not there, Umoyo can fight with Dube for no apparent good reason. We have been killing each other for years. I made an example one day in Johannesburg. I said I grew up in a township in Durban. In a particular year, the Mxenge family was killed. And people were killing each other. Those were saying their ANC was killing IFP. Mangosuthu was insulted. That particular year, we were at each other's throat literally because we were saying IFP has killed Mxenge. But late, good people, it was not IFP. It was the government that killed Mxenge. And so that is an indication that our minds is at the hands of our oppressor. This Zondo Commission is showing us that. We've seen it today. Zizi, we've seen it with Bosasa, and a white man will never protect you. Don't think that a white man is your friend. White men don't have friends. They don't even like each other. Look at the world wars. White man was killing another white man. They've killed each other. They have world wars where they were killing each other. When you talk about Stalingrad, you talk about Russian and Germans were killing each other like no one's business. They killed for food. And who you are, or who we are, that you think that you can have an alliance with white people, that you think that they can defend us, and who we are, that we can use their laws and claim these laws can be the pillars of justice for a black person in this country. Let us not be fools, good people. Why European, they don't use Chinese laws? Why not? Because they understood, or they understand very well, that a law from another nation or from another race is toxic. It will never give them full liberty. Why, when they arrived here, they said, Africans, we have laws. No, let's accept your laws. Let's use your laws in court so that we can have justice. They knew it very well that they will never understand our laws. They knew it. And so the most important thing, good people, for us to be really, really free, we need to visit that 1994 elite transition. That's where we were sold as Africans. Because this constitution that was conceptualized in 1955 in Cape Town and was claimed as a freedom charter, when you look at it, it is empowering the black person. First, it says the land, that this country belongs to everyone who lives in it. Go to each and every country around the world. You'll never hear that nonsense. But it's just love. And all those Jews who created the Freedom Charter, they were supposed to accommodate themselves. They were supposed to write in a way that gives them power. Because we know very well that that Freedom Charter was not written by the black people, but it was written by the white Jews. And so we are using that as a template. We took that nonsense as a template for our constitution. Ask people who are involved in constitution. Go and read Adam Habibi's book, Unfinished Revolution. Awazis responded. He made it clear. Go and check. There is a chapter there when he made it clear that the South African constitution was dominated by the Dutch and the English scholars. Ask Judge Posa and others who were involved why they decided to to walk out, because they could see that the agenda here is not to free a black person, but is to tighten the shackles that oppress a black person. This constitution that even a white person prays is a constitution that oppresses us. Because when the world say is the best constitution, which world? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And in that world, which class that praises this constitution? And in that world, which nation that embraces this constitution? Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. And so we must not be scared to revisit and change each and every sentence dot, comma, full stop, that oppresses us in that constitution. That's why today polygamy to other people is like a crime. Something that we know in the South African in the African context that is not. But others, newly formed kind of living and existence, are being embraced and they are being promoted in our constitution. Because those who are in power are organized. They are organized through civil society movements. And these civil society movements are the ones who run our country. And when you look at this civil society movement, they are not funded by Black people. And when you look at the civil society movement, you don't find Black South Africans or you don't find natives. Go to Sonte Gender, whatever violence, there are no natives there. But you know what a white person will do to drive the wage? Would invite a Black or an African brother from Zimbabwe, from Maputo, to this institution to use them as a firewall against us. And so what I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to say here, the South African natives must unite, must start to review all this nonsense that was agreed in 1994. Because if you are not going to do that, go to Australia and see how the natives survives there. That's where we are going. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Xolani. Before I take you, Moyo, for a second bite, can I check any other inputs, hands, comments that want to comment? In the absence of comments, because I think this is I thought colleagues will engage Xolani's view, or maybe they are now being paralyzed by your views, Xolani. But Mr. Moyo, you can come back.
Yes, sir. This is the second bite. I think I'll come for the third bite. But I really appreciate if some of our friends and colleagues here will participate, because this is one critical issue we are ignoring as a country. We are turning a blind eye, that's one. But two, we have become ignorant and we pretend as if we don't see what is happening. Yet we do see. And our problem is that the white men, they've learned an art of using our resources to shut us off. Now your topic, Sediko, is very interesting and crucial. It says, is the law classless? And Xolani has answered all the questions regarding the topic. But we need to deep further and dig deeper on the subject matter. We need to be a society of Black people who are patriotic. If I don't know whether I'm using the right word. Now, this is our land, this is our country, this is our continent. That's number one. But white people have learned this art of saying, let's divide them. And the first thing that they did was to make us poor. They said, let's make them poor. Let's divide the issue of families. Let's put a mindset that says polygamy is wrong. You know, they've made us to be scattered. Now we don't need to use our system to go back to our roots, But we need to do something very interesting. First, we need to restore the issue of families, Mr. Dube and Mr. Rakolote, and everybody that are listening to me. Before you can deal with the issue of the law, because we'll never win that war. The war of dealing with the law that came with white people, will never win that one. I promise you. But if we can restore the first critical fundamental issue of black people, that is families. We need to restore families. We need to say, if you have kids somewhere that you don't know about, go and find them. Restore these families. Because in the absence of a structure called a family, in the absence of a father, in the absence of a mother, a nation gets scattered. And when a nation is scattered, these people will come with their laws. And their laws will do what it's doing right now. I really do not understand why people are celebrating Judge Zondo, who's being used by the very same system that we are trying to fight. Zondo is being used, and we can see. I don't want to talk much about the president, because if I can say something about the president, I might find myself sleeping on the street. But I wanted to say something about him, because he is also part of everything that is happening, that is confusing the nation. Now, Mina, where Mr. Dube, I want you, as much as you have said so many things that are good and interesting, I want you to give us a solution. The law is classless, non-sexist, or non-racial. So that your answer, if I was listening to you carefully, was saying the law is not that. The law favors those that they want to favor. And the issue of patriarchy, I heard you talking about the issue of patriarchy and all that. What is the solution? Is the solution that we must go on the street and fight? Or is the solution that we must fight the very same African National Congress that we believe should have been advocating for such things, which today it does not? And they're saying, having said that, Sediko, in the next 5 years from now, the ANC won't be in power. And many of our comrades will be in jail. Many people that we respect will be in jail. Now, the ANC does no longer serve its purpose of the 1912. 1912 is not what is happening today. So what is the solution, Mr. Dube? Because now we need to find the solution. And lastly, Sediko, this program is good. It's a very interesting program. We need to build a media house that will speak our language and our propaganda. We don't have that. As long as we don't have such, whatever that we are doing today, it's just in vain. We are doing it so that people will see that we are doing it, but it does not, go where it's supposed to go. So after this, Xolani, let's try and find a platform, a media house that will have a viewership that is above 20 million. We need to fight for that. We can do it. Unfortunately, when our black brothers got the tender having millions and billions, instead of building those media houses, we buy flash cars, fancy cars, luxurious cars. You can count. We go to Cubana, we spend hundreds and thousands of rand in one night. Instead of saying, the money that we are having today, let's bow back and build a media house that will be able to tell the truth. You've talked about the Mqana family. Other people don't know about that. There are a lot of things that we don't know, which if we have our own media house, we would have done better. So I want the solution, but at the same time, in the back of our mind, Xolani, Sediko, and everybody, I saw this over here. In the back of our mind, we must do this. We must make sure that in each and every cent that we get, we plant it back. We must also create a spider web system of empowering black people in our townships. The Pakistanis and Ethiopians and all that, They are all over. I'm not saying that it's wrong for them to be there. I don't know about the economic setup of the country, but I'm saying let's create a spider web that says, if I give my wife 10 rand, he must do something that will bring back that 10 rand to the family. That's what we must create. Thanks, Sediko.
So much, Mr. Moyo. Opa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for quite a very emotionally draining presentation, especially the latter speaker, hating to a greater extent. I just want to use numbers to narrate my story. My presentation is about the numbers, so that you understand how the law, the very first basic law of the country that we had, of which is the Constitution, didn't alter certain numbers that are continuing unabated to continuously oppress us. Let me just give an example of the numbers I want to talk to. If you look at the land, the number of landowners between Brongospruit and Nelspruit, last time I checked, 6 families owned a piece of land, just as you drive on N4 from Brongospruit to Nelspruit. You're talking about 5, maximum 6 families that owns those farms until Nelspruit. So you're really not talking about the large numbers here, including where you had your township established. The township was established on some farm that was owned by some family, including where mineral resources of the coal deposits were found. It was part of that family estate, including where we've built the largest power station here in Witbank. So I'm just trying to demonstrate the pattern of land ownership. If we were smart enough, these are the radical changes that from the onset we could have altered. The next numbers that I want to talk to is about Sekhukhune district, where I'm from. If you look at the GDP of Sekhukhune district, if you were just to use your common sense, a bit of mathematical without being scientific about it, an average Sekhukhunenian, somebody like me and Sediko, we should be earning, without lifting a finger, we should be earning about 50,000 rands per month, just by the fact that we are born there. If you were just to look at the GDP of that region, because it's one of the highest concentration of mining activity. But then if you were to look at the Gini coefficient of that region, you will certainly cry, Sediko. I did a bit of homework over the past few days just to check the amount of poverty vis-a-vis the economic productivity of that region. So this is where, again, our laws are not helping us. If you look at what you call the capital flight of the Sekhukhune district, it's shocking to say the least. If I can just add more, if you look at the amount of the procurement spent in that region, Sekhukhune region, by the mining, it's equivalent to about 15 billion rands a year. This is the amount of money that the mine used to buy things, consumables, things that they use, fuel, PPE, whatever, electricity, water, blah, 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 blah. It's about 15 billion a year. How much of it resides locally? I can claim almost next to none. In a perfect world, you should be having a functional urban system in that region, similar to what you call Johannesburg was founded almost many years ago. To the extent that in the next, say, 25 years, when the mining houses withdraw or leave the area after the exploits are being done, you are going to be left with a ghost town called Beggarsford, because constitutionally, we're not even thinking of diversifying the economy of that region. So we've been tinkering and playing in the periphery without touching the hardcore. One of the research indicates that the mineral value of South Africa, it's 20 trillion rand, US dollars, 20 trillion US dollars, 20 trillion US dollars. If we can push it to its maximum potential, an average South African should earn 500,000 rand per annum. If you were just to do your math right. So we shouldn't be a poor country, to be very honest. So we just lacking, should I say what? Decisive leadership, ability to really turn around the economy. I mean, the latest downgrading, it's embarrassing, it's shocking to the core. A rich country like us, you have an unemployment rate hovering at around 48%. It's embarrassing to say the least. But at the same time, you have pundits saying we have one of the best constitution in the world. But it might be the best in terms of their definition. Is it practical? Is it helping us to address our socioeconomic challenges? I would say we really need to go back to the drawing board. We made early compromises and we compromised badly from the beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Opa. Thank you so much, my brother. Any inputs from colleagues? We are just joined by Prof. Malikane. Any inputs on the topic? Let's take in Moyo. Moyo, and you come in again.
I don't know whether Xolani and Sediko and Opa, there are only three of us, but I believe some of our friends and colleagues are noting down some of the things. But guys, I just want to ask a simple question. Is it not possible that we can identify a leader in this country, a black leader, who take us to, in fact, not who will take us to, because we are in the promised land. We are in our own canon. But can we identify a leader not under a certain system? Because when I'm saying not under a certain system, I mean, let's put political parties aside. Because I think abanye bethu, we are scared to speak the truth. It's high time that we speak the truth now. Let's identify a leader and let's rally behind that leader in order to reverse all these things that have been put in place by these compromise negotiations that took place some time ago. Because these negotiations, these are as the sense that Sibelasi corner today. Guys, will forgive me. I become emotional because I feel like we are too casual in dealing with, because if we don't deal with this thing, I am telling you, for the next 100 years, even our great children will be still speaking the same language. In fact, they'll go to YouTube, they'll go to Zoom, and they will find these things and be like, but our grandfathers, they're talking about this, but they did not implement. We need to identify a leader outside the system, because the problem is that, before I can talk about the problem, Sediko and Xolani, we once had a meeting with one of the ministers 4 years ago, and we asked him a question. We said, how come you took a private jet, you went somewhere and you did 1, 2, 3, and 4? Because I don't want to be specific about our discussion, because you might be able to see who's that. And his answer was, it's easier when you are wearing the black, green, gold t-shirts, the yellow t-shirts. But when you put a tie and a black suit, everything changes. That was the answer he gave to us. So it is the system. We need to identify a leader as South Africans. And after identifying a leader, we rally behind that leader. And after rallying behind that leader, we change the constitution. The first thing that needs to change in this country is the constitution that is being praised by white people. The last thing, Xolani, that I want you to address. Who is F.W. de Klerk to tell Zuma whatever that he said? Who failed to go to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission? And fourthly, that I want you to address, and Sediko, and everybody else that is listening, why did Thabo Mbeki, the former president, I respect him by the way, did not push F.W. de Klerk and all these apartheid bloodsuckers to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and after that, and implement the findings of the commission before we can even deal with the judges on the commission? Fifth, why are we still allowing that circus to continue in our presence? I want to understand, why are we doing those things? Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Pastor Moyo. You can really be emotional, I understand. But before we continue, Xolani had some engagements at 7 o'clock, so I've released him. But colleagues who are here can continue to engage and answer any questions that are there. Xolani made it very clear that the law in South African context was not created for a black person. The law in South African context was not created for the blacks. That is why also within the law, you borrow from other laws of other countries like the Roman Dutch law. So it's very clear. The question has been answered. The law was not created for blacks. So therefore, the law is racial. It's also sexist. It's not for the natives. Pastor Moyo suggests that we should identify leaders outside the political party system, rally behind those leaders or that leader, let that person lead us. And the first task of that person is to change the constitution, because it was through the constitution that we made some compromises or serious compromises that disadvantages the natives or the blacks of this country. That is the submissions of Moyo and Xolani. OPA stated numbers and said just between Pretoria to Nelspruit, the whole land is owned by about 6 families. Within the Sekhukhune area, there's a lot of procurement that is happening within that mine, but there's little to show within the communities. Those are the numbers. The question is, what must be done? We are about to close, colleagues. The session was supposed to take 1 hour, but now we are on 1 hour, 17 minutes. In the last 5 minutes, those who want to make final inputs, please let's make input and try to say, what do we do going forward to avoid a situation whereby some years down the line, our kids will go and check the YouTubes and say, our great-grandfathers were talking about this thing and this thing still happened. They were just talking and nothing. They keep on talking and nothing. Because Moyo says, in some years to come, they will just go and check the YouTubes and say, our great-grandfathers have been talking about this, our great-grandmothers have been talking about this, and we are still facing the same thing 100 years down the line. Any inputs, comments from colleagues before we close? Suggestions? It looks like this topic is too heavy. We need to find an easy topic to say how many days are in a week. Maybe then we can talk about those topics. Before I take you more, of course, it looks like now it's just a dialogue between your Opa and Xolani and me. Let me check, colleagues. If there are any member of this webinar who wants to make some inputs before we close. But in answering some questions, Moyo and Opa and Xolani, is that one thing that we're doing as an institute is to raise consciousness. Because you will never win any struggle without having conscious people. From our institute, we identify topics and use those platforms to raise consciousness. invite various speakers, engage with an aim that we should raise consciousness. And our expectation is that after this session, colleagues will go and share with others and spread the message. And in that case, we'll be raising consciousness. There is no way that we can be able to achieve anything if we don't start by raising consciousness of the people. Let's make it our duty to say, for those who are conscious, make the unconscious conscious. It might take some years, but by the time we have done our work, there will be a cohort of people who are conscious and stand up to face the monster. That's the intention from our side as an institute. Let's make the unconscious conscious and say, what is the real problem in this country? What causes these challenges in this country? A country that has got so many minerals and so many poor people. A country that's got a vast land that can be used for agriculture and have so many people landless. What causes that? That's the reason why we organize this kind of webinar, the demo, to make the unconscious conscious and also to learn from each other and try to find solutions. Because solutions you can find in engaging. Let's engage and find solutions. Colleagues, before I close, I give chance to those who want to make comments before we close, because we are closing. Those who want to make inputs, comments before we close. I want to suppress more because I can see he wants to come again, but I want to suppress him for now. Those who want to make comments before we close. Christopher, Prof. Malikane, you're on the floor.
Yes, good evening, colleagues. I just joined the discussion at the tail end, but what I picked up from the comments so far is that there is a consensus that actually, as African people, this constitution is not ours. If you ask how this constitution came about, there was not much consultation, as you would see with consultations around the issue of land expropriation without compensation. So truly, so many of us, I'm sure many of us who are on this platform were already born when this constitution came about. I don't recall any campaign or any mass consultation process that took place in the drafting of this constitution. So I think we need to begin there to, as you say, conscientize people that this constitution is not ours, it's being imposed. We're not consulted with this thing, we don't know it. And some of our lawyers must begin to identify areas in the constitution that need to be changed. Or if we remove it completely, begin to have a blueprint, even if it's not in detail, but a blueprint that begins to, to indicate the vision, the type of society we want in a constitution legal format, whilst at the same time we organize actively the masses of our African people to take responsibility about the direction of that their country must take. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Malikane. Other colleagues, before we close? Okay. I can see Moyo, you are burning. You are the last one now. I'll give you the last chance to give a bite and close.
Sediko, Prof has covered me. You also covered me. But I wanted to suggest, I was trying to find amagama amnandi to use, but I think we need to, in your next discussion, maybe having Prof and I don't know, whoever you can have, but you need to find, play around a subject or a topic that says dismantling the South African Constitution. That thing must be destroyed. I'm ashamed to be part of it, but that thing must be it must be destroyed. But as a Professor Esho, we are not consulted, and today we are told that is the best thing ever in the whole world, and that's rubbish. We need to dismantle that thing. We need to destroy it. We need to find voices. Sometimes I understand we do these things of petition. Those things, they don't work. As I said earlier, one, we need to identify a leader, and once we identify it, we then try and force ourselves into making sure that our voice is being heard. As I was saying earlier, we need to find our own media house, because we can say whatever that we want to say. If we don't have these things, it won't assist us. But what I'm trying to bring in now is that you need to find a topic. I don't know how you're going to craft it, but something that will say dismantling the South African Constitution because it's rubbish. Thanks, Sediko. Yeah.
Thank you, Moyo, by suggesting that I should say something and at the end and say rubbish. But thank you so much. Colleagues, thanks for your participation. For those who are around KZN, on the 27th of November, 8 o'clock, there is a public seminar organized by Xolani Dube, calling all the natives with around KZN. They'll be meeting at Hilton Hotel, Durban Central at 6 o'clock. All those who are in KZN, please check the social media of Xolani. He's organizing a similar session, but calling all the blacks. And the intention about that is to find a way forward of all the things that we're discussing. So there is something happening of engaging the blacks to find a way forward. This is not a political party, but a gathering of blacks to find a solution on the challenges that they're facing. So that is happening on the 27th of November. In KZ, for those who are in KZN, they can join that. And from the Progressive Socio-Economic Investment Institute, we'll be having something similar topic on the 5th of December. And the topic will be white supremacy and privilege in South Africa post-1994. White supremacy and privilege in South Africa post-1994. And in that, we'll identify what makes these whites to have such a privilege and have that kind of a supremacy over us. So we'll be having that on the 5th of December. Please follow me on my Facebook. You will see the details and how to log in. We'll continue to have these discussions. The intention is to conscientize the masses, so that it must be the masses themselves who find solutions of the problems that they're facing. It cannot be us, a group of elites, because it will be elites thinking for the masses. The masses themselves must arise and find solutions on the challenges that they're facing. If so many black people are landless, if so many black people are jobless, it is them who must unite and find solutions to their problems. Yes, every revolution must be having a vanguard and guidance. People must be guided here and there, but one must just raise consciousness so that the people themselves must be their own liberators. With those words, I want to thank you for participating in this session. We're humbled every time when you come and join us. Thank you so much for your participation and have a lovely evening. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you so much.